Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Facts Not Included podcast.
Today
I'm here with
listen,
Peter Cabranes.
that's my job, okay? Who
All
are
right.
you anyway? Who are you? Who do you think you are?
Running around leaving stars.
Ooh. So anyway, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest episode of Facts Not Included, the podcast. Today is our Monday movie discussions. For those that aren't aware, and probably not concerned, no one's ever questioned this. We've changed the idea of discussions from reviews to discussions because, less pressure. So today, instead of having the wonderful Michael Votto and, of course, the wonderful Antonio Connolly on the episode, we have someone that I think is, well, maybe better? I don't know. Or maybe worse. Maybe he's like, I don't know. Where would you put yourself? In comparison
Probably
to my
better than all three of you.
Ooh, okay. So, I usually, when someone's on, I usually give them a very nice introduction. Not sure if I'm going to do that here. No,
right.
that's a joke. So this wonderful human being that I'm sitting with here, over the world of Skype, the interwebs, is someone who is extremely talented. Someone who I think has a future in the world of filmmaking. Someone who I've worked with over the last 2 years now, I think. Just an amazing person, amazing kid. Guy's amazing. I could say amazing all day because, anyway, this is, like I said, he's very talented. He's an amazing person. Mr. Miles Pietsch. What's up, dude?
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me on the podcast here. Thank you, Peter, for the wonderful introduction.
It's a terrible introduction. I'm probably going to have to redo it when you're not on air because I'm really bad with... See, it's because you're looking at me. So, Miles, have you ever heard the podcast, or are you just on because you're like, you want some clout?
No, I've listened to an episode or two of the podcast.
Okay, you're honest.
I remember I listened to the Mission Impossible Fallout. I have not finished. I don't think I finished one, but I listened to a good portion of that one.
Wow.
I listened to part of the Rocket Man one.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, for those that don't know, Miles is he's an individual who is looking. I guess I'm probably saying this right. He's looking to have a career in visual effects. Am I right?
That is correct.
Yeah. So we worked together during like a summer camp and stuff like that. And this kid, you gotta see what he puts together, man. And it's like it's stuff that I wish I knew at his age. And it's like, God damn it, the kids these days, man. They got all the right things handed to them. I'm a little jealous, I must say.
Well,
so.
Thank you, Peter, but I mean, I gotta say you are the one with the podcast.
I am well, I mean, anyone can make a podcast, which is partly why I have one.
Well, I mean,
I
wouldn't say anyone can make a podcast with one that is like, no one that just makes a podcast for fun is as dedicated.
Oh, thank you. True.
And I will say that you have the dedication and that you have the
chops,
the passion for it, and the chops to do it and make it in the business.
Yeah, thank you. Wow, thank you very much. That means a lot. Yeah, I think I could do this for a long time, till the day I die. So anyway, we are here to talk about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which, if you didn't know, is Quentin Tarantino's 9th film. Which, also, if you didn't know, apparently like his second to last movie, according to him, many years ago. Right? Don't you remember that?
Yeah, and I've heard him in interviews say that he just kind of wants it around 10, and I've heard him say it could be like 11, 12, like it could be like that, but in more recent interviews I've heard him say 10 is the final deadline. So, and I think a lot of people are probably pretty sad to hear that because he has a lot of pretty classic and pretty groundbreaking films under his belt. For a lot of people,
he's the greatest filmmaker of our generation. I don't know. I don't know if I put him there. I mean, he's definitely up at the top. But for me, it's well, I don't know if Steven Spielberg is my generation. I guess he's not. But for me, Steven Spielberg is like, God level. Only because of this reason. Like, he can make so many different types of movies and make them well. He could touch whatever. But Quentin Tarantino, I mean, for a man who in 27 years has only made 9 films, and each of those, well, more or less each of those films have had a huge impact on the zeitgeist. He just knows how to tap into what people are feeling and what people are thinking and have a message in all his movies. Like, think about it, like in Inglourious Basterds. we all saw a rewritten history of him killing Adolf Hitler, and it's like who wouldn't have loved to have seen that? Um,
Yeah.
and he does a little bit of that here in this movie. Before the movie came out, when they announced the film, because I talked to this with one of our other coworkers, a good man named Adam. Him and I spoke about the idea that we didn't quite. Well, I told him I wasn't quite sure about what the movie was going to be. I know Charles Manson, his name was thrown around, and the idea that, well, maybe this is going to be targeted towards those events. But then, as the trailer came out and all this other news came out, that focal point was a small subplot up until the end of the film. Did you get that idea, like when all the news was coming out? Like, what were you thinking?
Well, when the trailer first came out, I didn't think it had anything to do with it. I knew Sharon Tate was in it, and I knew that I didn't really connect in my head that, she died by the hands of the Manson family. And then I was talking to my father, and he was saying, "Oh yeah, it's going to be about the Manson murders." And I thought, "Oh, that's kind of interesting." Because in the trailers, it really didn't seem like that. And I hadn't really been doing any research up until the release of the movie.
Right.
So I was kind of surprised to hear that it was about that, and I thought that going into it.
For me, like I said, didn't know that the focal point was not going to be Charles Manson, because every time someone brought it up in the news, or in the YouTube world of movie people, anytime they mentioned the new Tarantino film, it was the new Charles Manson movie, and Charles died when? Oh man, was it last fall?
It was 2 years ago.
2 years ago. So
Yeah.
even more of a point to what I'm about to say. So when Charles died, that is around the time the movie started getting some. People were starting to talk about it more,
Hmm.
or maybe that's when the idea came out. I don't even know, but it just led me to believe, like, all right, this is the perfect time to make a Charles Manson movie. He's dead. He can't say anything, and who cares if he did to begin with? But he's got no say,
Hmm.
and none of his people are going to defend or come to his defense, because he's dead. So like, we
Hmm.
could do whatever we want now, and it's Tarantino, so he's gonna go balls to the wall, crazy with this. It turns out almost complete opposite occurs, because this movie, though the ending may say different, is not a balls to the wall crazy Tarantino action film.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
yeah.
and kind of touching on it, I saw the Hateful Eight leading up to this movie. I watched a lot of his movies leading up to this movie, and the Hateful Eight, for those of you who've seen it, uh, it's very slow with the violence, as opposed to something like Kill Bill, which is violent all throughout.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
Hateful Eight really waits till the end to get violent. And it's a lot more dialogue based. And so is this movie. And so I thought it was going to be kind of like that, where the movie is very dialogue heavy and very focused on the characters. And then at the end, there's a big bloodbath, which is, Sharon Tate and her friends being murdered. That's the direction I thought the movie was going to go to. Um, but it turns out that they don't even get to Sharon Tate's house. Um, and I don't know if I want to. I guess we can spoil it. We're spoiling it,
Yeah, well,
right?
oh yeah, full disclosure. I mean, we always, you guys, it's always in the description box. It's always there, and I'm probably gonna put one before the episode starts. Full spoilers discussion here. If you haven't seen the movie, hold off on this episode. I know you're gonna download it, but you just don't want to listen to it yet. So what you're about to say is the big climax in this film, which occurs within the last 20 minutes of this movie.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And so go on, take it over from there.
Essentially, what happens is Rick Dalton, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, is in his house, and Brad Pitt is walking his dog. Uh, and essentially, four members of the Manson family drive up in a rather loud car, and Leonardo DiCaprio says, "Oh, get the fuck out of here! It's midnight. It's very late in the night when it happens." So they go a bit back down the road, and then this girl in the car says, Rick Dalton, he played this cowboy in Bounty Law, and he was just killing everyone. So I say we kill the people that taught us to kill. And so one of the girls leaves, but three of them stay, and they break into Rick Dalton's house. By the time this happens, Brad Pitt comes back, and basically what happens is Brad Pitt's dog, and Leonardo DiCaprio just fucking smear the walls with these people's blood. Like they murdered them
It's a
pretty
scene.
badly.
It's a scene that is definitely created to make you aware that I guess these people
It
had it
is,
coming to them.
yeah.
Obviously, because these are the individuals that wind up in real life,
Mm,
committing very atrocious crimes. Now, that being said, it is one of the funniest scenes in the movie, though,
yeah.
because the very end, the last girl starts. It's so funny. I mean, again, if you're listening to this, you saw it. But just to reiterate, each moment she like you feel like she's dead, but then she just wakes up again and has this like crazy jolt of energy, and she starts screaming, and then gets burnt to the crisp, essentially by the same weapon that is introduced earlier in the movie, which
And it's also in the trailers.
yes,
When Leonardo DiCaprio, which I want to touch on because in the trailer and in the movie, Leonardo DiCaprio is depicted as a American soldier in a movie that he made. It's called The 14 Fists of McCluskey or something like that. I think it's
I think
that.
so. Yeah, yeah.
And basically what happens is this big curtain opens and he has a flamethrower and he burns all these Nazis. And I mean, if you are a Tarantino fan or just know about his movies, you know that in the end of Inglourious Bastards, they blow up, or not blow up, they set the theater which Hitler and the high command of the Nazi party is in. And I think
Yeah.
Tarantino did that very deliberately. But that same flamethrower that is the prop in that movie is he has in his tool shed, and he takes it out and he just burns this girl alive in his pool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, you know, actually, I want to touch on something that I find quite fascinating. Have you followed or read anything regarding the Tarantino, like cinematic universe idea that all these movies are connected?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
So I have not, and Adam was actually sitting down with me, and we were talking about that, and I was just blown away at the idea that um, he mentioned something about fuck. Oh man, I'm totally not giving him credit. I wish I could actually remember what the fuck he said. But it had to do with the flamethrower. It had to do with Hitler, and it had to do with how because that was a real act in real life in the movie
Mhm.
universe,
Mhm.
the fact that Hitler died like that,
Yeah.
that it plays on the fact that because Hitler dies in a movie theater, it plays on the fact that um, the whole like what you said before about
Mhm.
murdering the people that taught us how to kill.
Yeah.
It plays on all that whole thing. Adam said it a lot more beautifully and better. I just, but go on to what you were saying. I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah. Well, the thing with the Tarantino is, I've been thinking about it in the context of the movie, and it's basically he has two universes. Uh, One which is his like real reality universe, and one which is movies that he's made are essentially movies within that universe. And so like Kill Bill is a movie within the Pulp Fiction universe or something like that.
Oh
Um,
wow!
yeah, and so what I've thought, and also Inglorious Bastards is in the reality universe, and
Right?
that
Yeah,
in
yeah.
that universe that's how Hitler died, and that's how the war ended. And essentially the way that I've been thinking about it is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is also in the reality universe, but all the movies within all the movies that have been made within that universe
Right, right, right.
are part of the movie universe technically. So
Wow.
basically, the 14 Fists of McCluskey is a is in the same universe as Kill Bill.
Okay. Okay.
You know, so it's basically like that movie, The 14 Fists, is a fictionalized version of how the war ended in that universe. So not only is it Tarantino referencing his other work, it's the movie within the movie referencing history of the universe. if that makes sense.
No, that's kind of fascinating, and I want him to come out and talk about this, and actually confirm maybe some of this.
Yeah.
Maybe he never will. Maybe he likes maybe to play with us like that. Um, to be honest, I think this is something we talked about in our real life, but not on the podcast. I don't think I've seen every single one of his movies.
I have not either.
Yeah. Um, I mean, he has, of course, smaller films, but I've seen
Yeah.
Reservoir Dogs. I mean,
I've seen everything except Jackie Brown and Death Proof, but Jackie Brown just got on Netflix, so I'm gonna watch that. But
do you count the
something
movies that he wrote and not directed?
no, I count both. I just consider like
So
the 9 that he counts.
you only count those. Okay.
Which is like he counts Kill Bill as one. Kill Bill 1 and Kill Bill 2 are one. That's what he considers. So it's like
Right, because it's volumes. That's why.
yeah.
Right.
So it's Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, um, Kill Bill, obviously, uh, Inglourious Bastards, Death Proof.
No, Grindhouse. Yeah. All right.
Grand Death Proof is one.
Yeah, because
and
that's
then,
one. Yeah.
And then
Django.
Django Unchained, The Hateful Eight. Uh,
That's it.
this one, and then Jackie Brown.
Yeah.
Those are the 9.
Yeah.
But actually, talking about the universes, I think it's pretty interesting because Jackie Brown was based on a book called something. I'll look it up. But I think it's interesting how he considers Jackie Brown to be in its own universe, which is like the book universe. Like it's the same universe as the book, that someone made. Let me look at the book.
If there's anyone that's more of a loose canon but is well respected at the same time, it's definitely Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah,
He
Rum Punch is the book.
Rum
that Jackie
Punch.
Brown is,
Okay, because
based
he
on.
could say things that anyone else will get ridiculed
Hmm.
for,
Oh, yeah.
blacklisted, or whatever sometimes, but because he's Quentin Tarantino, it's totally a-okay.
Well, yeah. Here's the thing. In this movie, if in all of Quentin Tarantino's movies, the N-word is said, and it doesn't matter the race of the person. It's just something that he always puts in his movies.
yeah, no, but I mean
Um,
like him as a person in public life. But yeah, good
Oh,
point.
yeah.
Good point.
Yeah, but and like even in like The Hateful Eight, which was made 4 years ago, that would still be a pretty touchy subject if a white person says the N-word, but plenty of the white characters say the N-word in that movie.
Yeah.
And Adam was also talking about this one, or like talking about. I'll get to it in a second, but this movie doesn't have the N-word at all. Um, and Adam was talking about how this movie, Quentin Tarantino, is kind of symbolically represented by Rick Dalton and how he's fading out of the film industry.
Right.
And I think that him not using the N-word is him growing in the sense that he knows what can't be done
That's what
now.
Well, that's also something I told you.
Yeah.
Beforehand, because this is before I saw the movie. You told me there's no N-word, there's no Sam Jackson, and it's not as violent. And I said, well, that's interesting given his past. But I think I said to you was, well, I think he's getting ready to, because there's been talk for a couple of years now that he's writing a Star Trek movie, and there's no denying that he's going to probably want to direct that. And I think it's Paramount and CBS, whoever who owns the rights to Star Trek, are probably going to not want him to helm the film. So what better way to show them that I could do a movie without certain tone or certain words or whatever than this movie. This is probably the equivalent to that. And yeah, Rick Dalton is, and Brad Pitt's character, let's be honest, this movie is a love letter to old Hollywood. We'll never have that ever again, at least not that I can think of. We are, and I've had this discussion with Antonio, I think, before in our personal lives. I don't think we've brought it up on the podcast, but the idea that you don't go see a movie these days because so-and-so's in the movie. It's rare that you're getting that. So, it's not like it used to be. Yes, there's still people that do that. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Tom Cruise is in a movie, you're going to probably go see it. But let's be honest, Tom Cruise is only acting in movies that are his old stuff now. I mean, what does he do? Mission Impossible, and now he's doing Top Gun. But you're going to go see that movie because it's Top Gun, not because it's Tom Cruise in Top Gun. It's Top Gun.
Well, yeah.
Right, but so, like, and same thing, like, what makes money now? Like, you have, big tentpole movies, and you see it because it's the IP. People are going to go see IP, not so much actors, not like it used to be in the past where you put the name of the movie, in some cases, was smaller than the name of the actor on the poster. And it's like, for good reason, you came to go see a certain person, not so much what they were acting in.
Well, here's the thing. I wouldn't say that is the 100% case now, but I would say this is definitely...
No, I didn't either, yeah.
Yeah, this is definitely a transitional period because the 60s and 70s are recent enough where I would say we haven't hit the phase where you just go see a movie because of what's in the movie. Obviously, and it was the opposite, but I think that we're in a transitional period where, yes, that is happening.
Yeah, I think that, but that's my point. Like, I think those days are pretty much almost gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there is the rare exception, of course, if Meryl Streep's in a movie, you're going, like, without a doubt. But, if Tom Holland started acting in something else, you're probably not going to just go because Tom Holland's in it. Maybe not. Like, and he's one of the bigger names right now because he's Spider-Man and whatnot. I'm just throwing out a name right there, but yeah, we're not quite where it used to be with that, but that's old Hollywood, and that's what this movie's trying to show you, that it's a different time period. Like, and also, and Adam, I know we keep mentioning him, and God damn it, we should have had him on the show. He mentions that this is also, and I couldn't agree more, this is a love letter to Sharon Tate. I mean, she, according to Quentin Tarantino, she's had a huge influence on him, and also to many people that were in the industry. She was about to become one of the biggest stars in Hollywood. She could have been the biggest star in Hollywood, maybe.
Yeah.
But of course, the events that led to her death obviously cut that very short. So this is a movie that's more or less in homage to her. But did you remember when this movie was coming out? That there was but there was a reporter that said, why doesn't Sharon Tate talk a lot, or if at all, in this movie?
I was just gonna bring this up.
Okay.
Because, yeah.
No. So wait, hold on. So,
yeah.
But let me explain the whole thing so people can know. So what happened was they were at a press conference. I think it was at the Cannes Film Festival. So definitely it was. And so, so the lady goes, why doesn't she talk? And he goes, something along the lines of, what does he say? God damn it, I forgot. Something about hypothesis, right?
He goes, she said, why doesn't Margot Robbie or Sharon Tate have a bigger role in the script? Because it seems that she doesn't really get a lot of attention in the film. And he goes, well, I just reject your hypothesis.
Yeah, there we go, yeah. And then the cringiest thing happens. Margot Robbie doesn't know what to say at the moment. She's just kind of like, then she tries to go talk and explain, I guess, defending Quentin, because, like,
yeah,
you're not going to not defend him.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's like, it's not, A, the movie's not about her,
right?
But B, it's like the parts that are with her, like it does a lot without her speaking.
Yeah, and also, I mean, clearly this journalist was trying to bait Quentin to saying something sexist or whatever, and clearly didn't get that out of him because that's not what he was going for. He was just trying to tell his story, and that was the way he thought his story would flow, which is not necessarily having to have her talk. And maybe that's the perfect thing, is because, and I brought this up to a couple people. Notice how when Rick Dalton, they spent real dollars, real CGI money, real video effects money to put him in a old ass movie that was starring Steve McQueen, just to put a point across that he can get the role. But they spent minutes and minutes and minutes just to tell you that this is what it would have looked like if he was in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Now, fast forward to later in the film where Margot Robbie's character, Sharon Tate, goes to go see herself in a movie. They spend $0 to tell you that that's Margot Robbie as Sharon Tate on screen. They make sure that it's Sharon Tate's actual performance from that movie. That could say a lot to the other reason, to the other point, which is why she didn't talk. They wanted Sharon Tate to be remembered as that.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't need to make words for her, because what you're going to see is her acting on a screen, and that was it. That's all you need to see. We didn't want to taint the fact that taint her legacy in any way.
Yeah.
I think that's probably how he looked at it. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was talking about this to people after seeing the movie. It's very, like you said, Quentin is very much honoring her in this movie, honoring Sharon Tate in this movie, and for them to not, for him to not replace her with Margot Robbie, does really honor her, and saying that, you know, like, Sharon Tate is a real person, you know, and like,
Yeah.
we don't have her anymore. Rick Dalton is not a real person, and they obviously don't have any footage of him in The Great Escape because he wasn't in it. And so I think it was more so important in the story for them to do that with Rick Dalton, but with Sharon Tate, it's not really. It's not necessary, and it's actually more so needed for them to show the real her. And also, my dad, after seeing the movie, he said he couldn't tell the difference between Margot Robbie and Sharon Tate.
Bullshit.
I know, I could definitely, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess he didn't really question it that much.
Because he's, you know what, and it's not to your dad's fault. I mean, he's in the industry, so it's not like it's, you know, that's nothing he wouldn't notice. But it's just he's not someone that looks out for that stuff, I bet.
Yeah.
So like, I'm always looking out for like the faults. I'm always looking out for like, oh, does that not line up or whatever, and I'm always looking out for all that type of thing. So of course I'm gonna pick it up. But kudos for him for not doing that and not taking him out of the movie. For me, it took me out for like a second. I was like, wait, this isn't what? But I said, all right, let me just watch the whole movie and then let me reflect on that. And then from talking with other people, came to that conclusion that I was like, oh, there's a reason.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely a reason, because Quentin doesn't overlook things. He doesn't spend years making a movie just to go, oh, I left that in a scene. Oopsies, you know?
Yeah, it definitely wasn't a mistake.
Exactly.
Because I'm sure he debated with people and with himself on whether or not he should.
Exactly.
But I think it was a clear decision. It was clearly the right decision for him to not, because it's to show the real Sharon Tate.
Now, more on Tarantino's style. I mean, because this is something that has always been debated, always been talked about ever since, I don't know, since he's made Reservoir Dogs. I don't know. But he loves to show, and he loves to also explain.
Yeah.
Exposition is his middle name. And when you're in film school, the one thing they tell you not to do is the stuff that he does.
Mm-hmm.
And yet so many film critics and so many people just love what he does. And so to me, that always weirded me out a little bit. But he's consistent with his stuff like that. So, but what do you feel about it? Does it bother you sometimes? Because to me, it irks me out a little bit sometimes.
Well, here's the thing. What they tell you to do in any writing class is show, don't tell. He shows and tells.
Exactly.
At the same time, because like the scene you were talking about where Rick Dalton's talking about how he almost got the Great Escape, was Timothy Oliphant's character. I forget his name. He's saying, "Oh, you were almost in it, right?" Cut to him being in it. Because Steve McQueen got it, but I heard you would be good in it. Cut to him being in it, you know? And so it's that style. I'd have to look at more examples of. Well, actually, no. I can think of a few. I mean, like when he's talking about Django Unchained, when Django was talking about how Brumhilde, you know, was like punished. Do you remember that scene where he's punish me instead with the three brothers? He's telling Christoph Waltz's character about it, and Quentin Tarantino's also showing it, and things like that. He's always done that, and I think, yeah, that is kind of his signature. But I don't think technically a fault, but it works for the effect that he's trying to go for. You
Yeah,
know?
no, I don't think like I didn't mean like it was. I don't think I said it was a fault. Did I?
But you were saying how that's what they tell you not to do.
All right, that's my point. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, no, it's just funny that like a man, a film director who is so well respected, could get away with
Mm-hmm.
something that is usually frowned upon by most people who make films.
Mm-hmm.
But it's I don't want to. I guess you could say it's overlooked because of everything else involved in his movie making, or it's just done so well. But
Mm-hmm.
also to the effect that he doesn't do it just once in a movie. He does it throughout his movie, and that probably also plays to the idea that it works. Um, he's always
Yeah.
done it. He does it multiple times in a movie, but it works. But for me, when watching it, I'm just like, I don't need to know this shit. To me, it's not
Yeah.
important. But for him, like, okay, what has he made a movie under 2 hours or under two and a half? Like it's
Yeah.
but
That's interesting.
it's just the thought like cut. We're always like, especially now, um, in modern times with people's attention spans being what they are.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that his movies still play well blows my mind.
Yeah.
Because most people these days can't deal with it. I could deal with it. I could watch a movie, as long as it's like I love The Hateful Eight. I could watch that for days.
Mm-hmm.
That movie's I've seen it twice. Now I want to see it again. I want to see what the cuts on Netflix and everything. Like
Mm-hmm.
I could watch a long movie. Don't get me wrong, but for some people, like I I don't, and that's why I like him so much. I guess that's the point I'm trying to make. Quentin
Mm-hmm.
Tarantino does not back down to whatever people think of him
Mm-hmm.
or what they want from him. He just does what he wants to do, and you guys suck it up. You eat it. That's it. You
Mm-hmm.
you 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 may complain all you want, but you're gonna go out there and you're gonna watch his movie and you're gonna fucking love it. And
Yeah.
he knows that. And he knows that. Like, look, Jackie Brown, 2 hours and 34 minutes in 1997. That is insane.
Yeah.
So let's talk a bit about the performances here. I mean, we have some big names in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
DiCaprio returning to work with Quentin Tarantino yet again, for his what, second time, third
Yeah.
time,
Second time.
second time. So, what did you think of him in this film?
I thought, well, this is the first time that Leo's been in a movie since The Revenant, and I thought it was a great welcome back for him, and I think that he did a masterful job because he embodied Rick Dalton in this movie, and he brought the level of dread that falls over this character. Um, throughout this movie, he's contemplating with his career going under and how he's fading out of the spotlight. Um, and also just like just the physicality of him. He smokes cigarettes all the time, he drinks all the time, and he's a mess. And Leo, not only in his delivery of the lines, but I mean just in the way he carries himself, he really uh brings that effect to the character.
I liked.
Um,
I enjoyed seeing the parallels between Brad Pitt's character
mhm.
and DiCaprio's, because more or less they're the same person, but they
Mhm.
live entirely different personal lives. One
Yeah.
lives a very glorious life. The other one lives in a little hut. Lives in a little RV type of contraption. So
Mhm.
I just like seeing that because it's like, and it goes. I like it for someone who wants to be in the industry, because there's a lot of individuals that live that glorified life, but then you got to
Mhm.
remember there's always that everyman that, for instance, could be a stunt double or whatever, that doesn't live
Mhm.
that life. They don't
Yeah,
get paid those
exactly.
big bucks, and I like the fact that they touched upon that ever so briefly though, but they touched upon it.
Exactly. And it's worth noting that throughout the movie, it's obvious that Brad Pitt's character, who also did a great job, is more or less uh fine with the fact that he's not working as much, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, he like you said, he lives a very modest life. And I mean, yeah, he does want to work and he wants to pay the bills, but besides that, like he has no problem, he's a happy guy. Um, and it's interesting the parallels of them being the same character but having a completely different outlook on life, like you were saying.
Yeah. Uh, quick. This is a really really quick answer. Just pick one. Who would you be? Who did you relate to more, Brad Pitt or DiCaprio in this movie?
Um, I'd say,
I said quick. Don't need to think about it.
oh, I need to think about it because I haven't thought about it. I'd say probably Brad Pitt because he
Yeah.
understands the way that the world works and he's more so accepting of it. And Leo's a lot is in denial.
Leo's
Uh,
living a once upon a time type of life. He's
exactly.
living a fantasy that everything's going to be a-okay at some point. And then he gets to that realization where he kind of more or less realizes that it's not.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would have to pick Brad Pitt too.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
That's right.
so
Well, I think that uh, Leo and Brad Pitt's characters, throughout the film, you see the differences in their lives because pretty much the bulk of the film is Rick Dalton on a set of a pilot where he's playing the villain, and then Cliff Booth just driving around having a day where to himself. And you see the difference in like their day-to-day life, um, which I thought was very interesting. And then they come back at the end of the day, and then it cuts to 6 months later, further in their career, and they're more closely tuned because they're in films again. They begin to be in spaghetti westerns. Um, but it really shows kind of the chemistry between them, um, when they're able to come back at the end of the day and just work well together. And also in the ending, I'd say in the ending scene, even though they're like separate, like I don't know, I feel like the ending scene by the end of the movie, not in the end, not the ending big finale, but the falling action where they're saying goodbye, and Cliff Booth goes to the hospital because he gets stabbed. Um,
right.
they basically, I think it really shows the chemistry between them because Cliff Booth and Rick Dalton have stayed together for years, and it just shows how much they appreciate each other. And it's funny because they come to an agreement that they're going to kind of split ways, because Rick Dalton, he has a wife, and he doesn't really need him anymore. But the the attack on their house, and Cliff getting stabbed, it kind of rejoins them because the next day, supposedly after the film ends, he's gonna go visit him in the hospital.
Right.
So I think it really it shows the chemistry between the characters.
No, it certainly does. So with Brad Pitt and what really struck me about him in this movie is someone made this meme and it blew my mind and I was like, holy shit, it does. Someone said he hasn't looked more like Robert Redford ever than in this movie. Like there's a cut of him. I
Who,
think
Brad Pitt?
yeah, he looks just. They said he looks just like Robert Redford. I wish I could find the picture. I'll probably if I find it, I'll post it on our Instagram. They compared him to a picture of Robert Redford, and what a great comparison because these two, like, fucking Robert Redford's man, like he's a god in movie
Yeah,
industry, and of his time he was a superstar, and Brad Pitt is of his time a superstar. And I just love that connection, and it's probably during the time when Robert Redford was pretty big too during that time period, if I'm not mistaken. So
yeah.
it was a cool little connection there. But what you were saying about the two of them being forever connected in some weird way, though so many hardships have gone uh, past them and through them and whatnot. I think a very good moment in this movie where and it's very early on in the movie, and it's our introduction more or less to them, is when Pacino is talking to them,
Yeah.
and it has to do with the introduction that Pacino has to Brad Pitt after DiCaprio says, "Oh no, he's my stunt double, but he takes me everywhere."
But
And then
he drives me around.
drives me around, but then the voiceover happens. I was like, "No,
Yeah.
bullshit. He lost his license or whatever."
Yeah.
To me, that was the perfect understanding of their relationship.
Yeah.
And that's all I needed to just move forward to go on
Mhm.
from there.
It kind of that voiceover is kind of genius in a way because it cuts away, not only is it voiceover, but it cuts away to Rick Dalton. It's like he's in a car crash. He's holding like a cloth to his head, and it says, that's a fucking lie. You know, Rick Dalton got too many drunk driving accidents. He's got his license revoked. So Cliff takes him everywhere. It shows the moment that Rick really needed him.
Exactly.
You know, it shows the exact moment where they became intertwined.
And it's very clear that Cliff could live a life without Rick Dalton. He
Yeah,
most certainly can.
and
But
it's kind of assumed that he was like
right,
even when he was doing his stunts, like he was just a stuntman. You
right.
know?
But Rick clearly needs some companionship, whether that's his wife or it's Cliff, or now it seems to be a post movie, both of them. He needs both.
Yeah.
He needs romantic love and he needs brotherly love.
Well,
So, yeah.
the thing about his wife is at the end of the movie. I mean, I don't like. Obviously, you don't see him and his wife together very much, but you don't really like feel their romantic connection. It's just, oh, Rick
Oh,
Dalton has a wife
no,
now.
without a doubt. But
Yeah,
I
and
took it.
so
I took it that way because you have to put yourself in that time period. A lot of people, and I guess that, I mean, same goes to today. A lot of people just get married for the symbolic side of it.
mhm.
He was an actor. She was probably not, or what? I mean, she wasn't, right? Or
Well, no, I think she was because she was in one of
she was in
the
one of the movies. They
spaghetti
said.
westerns.
Okay, so like they fell in love on set, that type of thing. That
Hmm.
happens like legit all the time. So that did not bother me.
It didn't bother me, but I didn't really think of it as like he needs both of them. He just needs Cliff, and he can live with his wife. That's how I thought
Interesting.
about it.
Okay, fascinating.
I didn't think about it as like, oh, he worked with both of them. He just needs Cliff
Okay,
in the end of it,
okay.
and he thinks he doesn't because he has a wife. But
Oh, okay. See, I didn't
that's
see it that way.
that's how I thought about it.
I like that idea now. I like that
Hmm.
idea now. I appreciate that. So okay, so Cliff. Okay, so let's get this straight for people that are listening at home. Uh, Cliff could totally live by himself. Rick cannot, and more or less, Rick needs Cliff to survive. Now,
Hmm.
at some point, Cliff almost dies, as you mentioned, and like you said, that's why Rick feels all that feeling when he goes to the ambulance. He's like, "I'm gonna go with you, and I'm gonna be with you."
Hmm.
Um,
As opposed to being with his wife,
right.
who was equally in the same amount of danger.
And yeah, traumatized, I bet, to no
Hmm.
end by the
Yeah,
events. Oh yeah, she was, because she was like screaming every
I
moment she
know. Yeah,
could.
but then Cliff, the entire time, he's just like attacking these people. You know, he has no problem.
Yeah.
Even when he gets, well, okay, he is on acid in the scene, but
So
he gets stabbed. You
so
know.
this is something I brought up to a couple of people, and I think I brought it up to you as well. When the moment that girl, I do not remember her name,
Mhm.
gives him the acid cigarette,
Mhm.
I was like, oh, cool, he got an acid cigarette, whatever. And, didn't think anything of it, didn't think that was going to be a plot point later at the movie,
Mhm.
but big part of the ending of the film. Now,
Mhm.
what I was hearing from other people online, and I think this is a really cool idea, is being that Quentin Tarantino loves violence. But at the
Mhm.
same time, if you noticed, he likes fake violence. He doesn't necessarily, when it comes to historical violence, he doesn't touch that, right? For instance, why
Mhm.
he doesn't um, he doesn't necessarily have Hitler do killing. He has Hitler killed, right?
Mhm.
Stuff like
Oh
that.
yeah, that's interesting.
So the thing is, the reason they had, well, the ending itself, of course, is
Flips it on its head.
a new change in history. But and this also probably goes to my point of him wanting to be a little bit more respected as a serious person. He has Brad Pitt's character trip acid and murder people because if he wasn't on acid and did that, it wouldn't have made sense. Do you agree with those people?
Explain that a little bit.
So what I was reading was that if Brad Pitt's character murdered out of just sheer fact that people are just entering his home and did what he did, because like he takes her head and like destroys it.
Yeah, oh yeah, he butchers those people.
Now imagine him doing that if he wasn't high on acid. All you would see is a man who murdered his wife doing it again to another woman. Now,
oh my God, I didn't even make that connection.
Right, it's genius. Add the acid to it, it's more or less forgiven that okay, he's not just beating. Well, he didn't beat his wife to death. But he's not just murdering another woman just to murder another woman. He's doing it, one, because she's trying to murder him, plus he's tripping out.
Acid.
There we go.
Wow, I never made that
So
connection.
you could defend it more, is more or less what these people are saying.
Yeah. Both times, while viewing the movie, I completely forgot the fact that it is mentioned and shown, or like shown just before, that he murdered his wife.
Yes. Which is
yeah.
No, which is really interesting because they make a point not to make the point. So what I mean by that is they make the point to not show you him murdering his wife. So it's all left open to interpretation. A couple of things could have happened. Did he really kill his wife? Maybe she fell off the boat. Did he actually harpoon her by accident? Did he kill her in another way? Did he not kill her at all? And it also is a reference to the whole idea that Natalie Wood died on a boat. And it's funny because I mentioned this to you. His wife calls her sister, and her sister's name is Natalie, which I think is the freaking greatest, most meta thing in this whole movie. Because it's like the whole idea was that Christopher Walken and I forgot who the other guy was, and I think it was Natalie Wood's husband, and he's a big star too, whatever it was, were on that boat and were never charged for murder. Or if they were, it was tossed out, whatever happened. And the mystery is still open, just like in this movie.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because when thinking about what I was going to say, I was going to say that the acid in the movie is purely for comedic effect.
Right, yeah.
And like,
that's what you would think.
But when you're watching the scene, and he asks, Tex, one of the Manson family members, "Are you real?" He's like, I'm as real as a donut. They just start laughing hysterically, and it's like, it's funny.
Wait, is that the line?
He goes, "I'm as real as a donut, motherfucker."
And my God,
it's just like one of the funniest scenes in the movie, just because like Brad Pitt is just holding his hand out like a gun. He's just going like, ha, 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 he's just laughing hysterically. And I was going to say, there's no point to it, but that's actually a very good point, that it's to forget about the fact, or to forgive the fact that he killed his wife, and he's not just killing because he's a murderer, but that he's on acid.
Or do you think he killed his wife though? Like if we were like if he was a real person and we need to figure this out, is that important? Did he or did he not? What do you think?
Based on based on the way that the film wants you to believe.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. But it doesn't want you to think about it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because like that is another moment in Quentin Tarantino movie making, where he chooses to tell you everything else, but these are one of those things for some odd reason. He's like, "Nah, I'm gonna leave that out. I want you to figure that out on your own," or this is the only time where I don't need to give you any more information because it's already all there for you. Like everything's already in your hands. Deal with it. That for me, it's one of those moments where I was like, if you're gonna show me something, maybe that's the time. Maybe I do want the actual clear-cut answer. I want to see but it works. Like, don't get me wrong. Not that looking back now, I didn't need to see it. I think he made the right choice. And yeah, maybe that is the idea.
Yeah, but also just to talk about how you were saying when he brought up the acid cigarette, you didn't think it was going to come back up.
Right.
When I saw that the acid cigarette came up, like when he got it, he's like, "Oh, I got a cigarette dipped in acid," um, and like he doesn't use it. I was immediately like, "Oh, he's gonna use it later in the movie," because why else would they introduce it
See,
other than
I thought
to,
otherwise. I thought, notice how he mentions you better not be, you don't touch my shit or something. He says something like that. I was
yeah.
like, oh, cool. Leonardo's going to go on a fun trip. And I
Huh.
thought it was going to be a Dalton thing, you know?
Oh,
Because, like in movies, they're like, don't touch that button. What
but it
happens?
does happen. Yeah.
Button's touched. So I thought it was going to be one of those.
Yeah. No, yeah. I immediately thought like, oh yeah, it's well. I didn't know that Brad Pitt was gonna use it. I just knew that it was gonna come up later.
Interesting. Okay.
But
I thought it was
also,
going to be minor, too. Like, I thought, okay, Dalton's going to use it. It's going to be super minor. It's not going to be important to the plot, the main
but
plot of this film.
it is.
It fucking is,
In
man.
the end, and then also when you talk about what we were just talking about, it adds to the whole idea of the character, um and then also with the same concept, I didn't expect them to use, they show the flamethrower in the first act and they end up using it in the third. I didn't expect that
That
at
I didn't
all.
expect either. I was like,
And
there's no way
hmm
he's going to torture in a pool.
yeah.
But the moment he walks to that shed, you're like, oh, no.
Well, I thought he was just like, I thought he was going to run and hide, honestly.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, I thought he was just like going to run and hide, but I did not expect him to whip out the fucking flamethrower.
I will say, I think it was a bit out of character. I will say. What about you? Do you believe that?
Um, I
Be
mean,
honest. Be honest.
I think instinctually, if he's like, I
Okay.
gotta admit that's pretty quick thinking for him to be like,
Right.
this woman's attacking me. I have a flamethrower in my shed. I'm gonna go get it. But like him just being like, I think it's for his instinct to like defend
Because
himself.
he
I don't
already.
think
Yeah.
that's
No, no, okay.
unrealistic
Okay.
because I don't take Rick Dalton to be kind of like one of those Hollywood actors that acts all tough in movies but isn't tough at all.
Right.
I
Okay.
he's a kind of a tough guy.
I
So
get you.
I don't think it was too out of character. I just think it was more unrealistic in his like thought
I
process.
will say at first when I saw it, I thought, oh, that was a bit quick of a decision to run and go get that.
Hmm.
Maybe because you have to remember it's Tarantino, so like he likes to show us a lot of stuff. I
Yeah.
thought he was going to show him have this crisis of going, oh, should I go? Should I go get this thing or whatever?
Hmm.
But none of that's shown, and it's quick. Boom, she's dead.
Hmm.
And so that for me in that moment watching it, I've only seen the movie once, so maybe I'll feel different the second time. But in
Hmm.
that moment, I was like, oh, that was a bit fast and a bit abrupt.
Well,
That was
actually,
that's just me.
you want to know what I just thought of? What if what I thought was right, and he goes in there to hide, and then he sees the flamethrower, and he's like,
Oh, yeah.
"Oh, I'm gonna kill this woman,"
But again, that's something that, again, given that it's Tarantino, you thought you would have seen that,
Hmm.
But that's the movie. That's the
Hmm.
movie we got. That's the scene. Sorry, that's the scene we got. No, and don't get me wrong. It's not a bad scene. It works. But just in that moment, I was like, oh, this is a bit, for me as an audience member, it put me off a bit. I was like, that was a bit abrupt. That was a bit to me out of character. But again, given your point now, um, instinct, fight or flight, that all that
Hmm.
plays in. But again, that it's Tarantino, I just thought we would have seen a bit of that because we've
Hmm.
seen every other type of things in regards to that. There's something I want to touch upon right now, and I think it's one of the best moments in this movie because this girl is going places, man. Julia Butters, that little girl that plays Trudy.
Hmm.
Oh my god, that
Yeah.
kid, she is well beyond her years. Just the way she
Yeah.
acts, as like in the movie, and also as an actress in the movie. But
Yeah.
man, who the
Yeah.
hell is she?
She's a really good she's a really good actress. Like because it's not just like a child actress that is there for the purpose of just having a kid
Right
in
in
the
the
movie.
scene, yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's literally like she is a recognizable character that has very specific, character traits.
And
And like
goal. She has a clear goal to tell him,
mm-hmm.
get your fucking shit together, man.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Um, and I think, yeah, she did a great job, and she kind of plays a pivotal role in him, getting confidence back.
So I knew her from something. I
Hmm.
just looked it up. She's from the show Transparent, which was on Amazon for a while. She was in 8 episodes. Because I don't recall her character. I don't
Hmm.
but like I knew the face. I knew this like the mannerism. I knew that stuff was something I've seen before. So this was a bit interesting. So wow, this kid, man, she needs to be going places. She needs to be getting all the jobs. She's in a
Hmm.
new series called, well, not a new series, started in 2016. She's in like 70 episodes of some show called American Housewife. I don't even
Yeah,
know
I've heard of that.
I don't even know what that is. Where is that on? But like, I need to watch it now just
Yeah.
to see this kid because this kid's amazing.
Well, I mean, um, yeah, I mean, I think it also could be argued that, uh, I mean, not argued, but I mean, like, Tarantino could have been like, he could have been very good with directing her,
Well,
because I
whatever.
mean,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sure, like, he's very good at directing, obviously, but I mean,
Oh, really?
he, I mean, yeah, but he easily could have like sat her down before and is like, this is what I want for your character, because you always hear stories of him like bringing over the actors to his house and like playing movies for them as like,
Right.
you know, discussing the character with them. So I think it really it makes sense that like she would be this good,
So this is
you
an
know.
interesting thing. Apparently, one of the producers of Once Upon a Time
Hmm.
thinks that the child actor earned an Oscar nomination with a scene, but the movie was cut. The scene was cut out.
Really?
I think. Um, so, so the article more or less says 10-year-old Julia Butters is certainly the breakout star of Tarantino's new film. Um, what do you call it? She tells him the goal of acting is quote to achieve 100% effectiveness, and which is
That,
impossible, right? Which is her lines, but god damn it, she does it. Like,
yeah, that's funny that the actress actually really does it. But no, that scene's in the movie.
no, but it
Oh, it
says that
says
there's
that is
another
it.
scene that was cut out. So I haven't. I'm not going to read the article on here, but um, yeah, I don't know. Unless the person who wrote it made a mistake because they're an idiot. Because it's on IndieWire. Who the fuck
Hmm.
reads IndieWire? So she's fantastic. What I was really happy to see, and I'm not a big fan of him, but the fact that he passed away, we got to see Luke
Uh,
Perry
yeah, Luke
on
Perry.
screen as her screen daddy.
Or
Um,
I think it's her brother.
Screen brother, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I took that as dad. I guess I'm
Hmm.
wrong. It's not like I've never been wrong, guys. It's fine. It's fine. That was cool to see him. Now, here's a moment in the movie, and I don't know about you, man, but I was
Mhm.
expecting a different scenario to occur. I was thinking of different. I was expecting to see a whole different. I was actually seeing guns ablazing. Okay, I was hoping to
Mhm.
see fire and brimstone, man. When he went to that studio lot where the
Mhm.
Manson family are staying,
Mhm.
um, as we all know in real life, that is more or less what they did. They were on a ranch like that.
Yep.
Um, it's pretty crazy. So I thought, and Tarantino builds the tension to make you believe that something's going to happen. When Cliff visits and everybody's staring at him, all this stuff's going down, and they're just antagonizing him, and he's just doing it right back, all that stuff. And
Mhm.
all he wants to do is say hello to this one
Yeah.
dude that owned the ranch many years
Mhm.
ago.
Yeah.
And he gets up to the door, and he's about to go in, but you think something she's gonna like maybe shoot his brains out. You don't know what's gonna happen because all this tension is being built up. But
Mhm.
somehow he just goes in, says hello to the dude. The dude clearly doesn't remember him because he's an old man and a lot of stuff's going down. And nothing happens in regards to or anything dangerous other than when he's about to leave
Mhm.
with the flat tire situation.
Yeah.
But man, I was a little disappointed that nothing chaotic occurred.
Hmm.
What about you? Was that did that? I mean, again, the scene is perfect for what it is. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
me, but me hoping for something insane. Because again, Quentin Tarantino, violence, violence. That's
Yeah,
what
yeah,
you're
yeah.
expecting. The fact that we didn't get that in that moment, that would have been the perfect point in the movie to get something like that, get the ball rolling on violence.
Yeah,
But it doesn't happen.
yeah, I would
And
say
no Charles Manson either.
yeah. I would say 100% when Lena Dunham's character is like oh, they Charlie left for what was it, Santa Barbara or whatever. I thought he was going to actually be there,
Yeah.
and I thought I 100% thought like George was not there because the whole situation like seemed like it looks like they're lying like the character Pussycat, Margaret Qualley's character, when she goes, she says, like, oh, you can't talk to George right now. That's what they say. And Brad Pitt's like, well, why not? She just goes, he's napping. And the way that she says it, you're like, okay, well, that's a fucking lie.
Yeah, you think he's
Um,
dead, right?
yeah, yeah, I 100% expected him to open the door. Either no one's there, Charles Manson's there, or like he's dead, right? But
Oh,
like,
dude, hold on. You just brought up an amazing point.
what?
What if he goes in there? Charlie's just waiting for somebody to fuck him up or try to taunt him.
Yeah.
Charlie grabs him by like a knapsack, puts him in like some crazy contraption or something, and then the whole thing is to save fucking Cliff. Like it would have been just like that's where the movie goes. That's the whole Once Upon a Time. Like Charlie goes ballistic and doesn't kill Tate, but also just I don't know. I just had this weird thought just there.
Huh. I mean, maybe. I
That
feel
would
like
have been
Cliff wouldn't be
funny.
the. I feel like Cliff would if he would annihilate Charles Manson,
Yeah, that's a good point.
in
Yeah.
combat. But I mean,
So that's
I
why
don't
you
know.
don't. That's why you don't come up with ideas in 10 seconds. See?
That'd be interesting because that is the first of two times where Tarantino completely subverts your expectations, and in this way, it's like it is a shocking twist, but it's like, oh, the scene's boring. But I think that scene is very funny,
No,
where
it's a good scene.
yeah, where he's like, I'm Cliff Booth. What? John Wilkes
Yeah,
Booth?
John.
Who? Yeah, and he's like, no, I'm Cliff. That's a funny scene.
And then
But
no,
Peter,
when he says she loves me, and I was dying. I was like, she don't fucking love you.
yeah, I know.
Um,
And then also when I think when she's like, because I have to watch FBI with him, and he gets tired, so takes a nap, so he can stay
yeah,
up and watch. And I'm like,
it's
these people are
bullshit.
crazy. That's not real. And
Right.
then that's what he says is the case. And then I fucking love the scene where the tension is building so much, and it's a serious scene. And this line, it's literally like you don't even like the tension is still there, but she's like, you might have to shake him to wake up. I fucked the brains out of him this
Yeah.
morning. He might be tired. Like that line is so funny, but like it doesn't ruin the tension at all.
Did you know that was gonna be Bruce Dern when we
I
opened the
didn't.
door?
I didn't.
Yeah, I assumed it was him once. Like I realized it was an old dude. I was like,
Hmm.
this is probably where Bruce is at.
Yeah, I saw his name and I was like, oh, I wonder who he is.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Dude? When he dies, fuck.
yeah.
Oh my god! Like, a lot of people probably don't know who he is, especially like the younger people. The fact that you know who he is fascinating.
Mhm.
But if you haven't seen Nebraska,
Yeah, I haven't seen Nebraska, but I heard it's fantastic.
dude, if you have a weird relationship with your dad or whatever, like you're probably not on your best footing with your dad, and it's because you're a dick. Well, watch Nebraska, and it's gonna make you just go like, oh my god. But
Mm.
but man, because his dad's a nut job, his son's also a dick, but they're both trying to help each other out in a weird way. It's beautiful, fucking beautiful movie, and it's black and white for 2012 movie,
13.
2013 movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like, oh my god, that's a great movie. Yeah, so Bruce Dern, may you never die. Watch
Yeah.
tomorrow. It's like Bruce Dern has passed away. Um, but fuck, man,
Um.
he's great. But go on. So you were gonna say something else, I think, before I interrupted you.
Yeah. Now this scene is
Yeah.
one of two times where Tarantino in this movie completely subverts your expectations. And Peter, you know I have a lot to say about this next time where he subverts your expectations. Now,
Oh, is this the ending?
yes.
Okay.
All right. So, it's no surprise we've talked about it uh, earlier in this episode that Sharon Tate doesn't die, and Cliff Booth and Rick Dalton kill the members of the Manson family that in real life did kill Sharon Tate. Now, what happens after this? Rick Dalton says goodbye to Cliff, and he's standing there out in his driveway, and Jay Sebring comes up to him. He's like, "Hey, man, what happened here?"
Right.
He's like, "Oh, these crazy hippie guys, they tried to kill me and my friend, but we're okay. We're all okay." And he's like, "Wow." Um, and it's a satisfying ending because Jay Sebring he's bringing up movies that Rick Dalton is in, and Rick Dalton's like, "Yeah, I'm in that. I'm in that." And he's like, "Oh, I always tell Sharon that if he ever wants to put a bounty on Roman Polanski's head, she just has to go to her next door neighbor." He's like, "Oh, wow." And then she comes on the intercom. And he's like, "Oh, hey, Rick, do you want to come up for a drink?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." And so you think everything's gonna be well and dandy, right? But the
No.
gate to their driveway opens, and it is the creakiest, most eerie sounding gate. Like, you wouldn't expect it. And then the music turns dark, and you think, whoa, what's happening? Is something going to happen? And when I saw this, I thought, oh, like, man, I guess maybe Charles Manson comes back with a bunch of other people and they have another show off, you know? Maybe there's going to be like another climax or something. And at this point, I thought there was going to be maybe like another 30 minutes of the movie. And the camera pans away as if to pan to something else. And they just pan to Sharon's driveway, and the music goes all happy, and they hug each other and they go inside the house. And it it sets you up to subvert your expectations, but then it just sets it back to nope, that was the ending.
See, it started for me when he started talking to Dalton because
Uh-huh.
I thought he was going to murder him. Because
Really?
it for me felt as if he was that really creepy fan type of idea that like
Huh.
I'm your biggest fan, please come inside, you know the whole feeling of that. And
Mhm.
so that's what I got. And then the creaky thing happens and the music plays. I'm like, oh fuck, it's all over.
Mhm.
And then what adds to that before that is her answering the intercom
Mhm.
and kind of playing along maybe with her friend. You
Hmm.
know, maybe, but again, looking back now, me being dumb, not realizing that this is a love letter to Sharon Tate. You could never turn her into a
Yeah.
murderer. But in the moment, you're like, oh, fuck. That's the once
Yeah.
upon a time that she's the murderer? Like, dude, that would have been insane.
That Tarantino would have gotten a lot of flack if he did
Oh,
that.
no doubt about it.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Um, but just the way that the camera moves, the way that the sound plays, and the sound design of the gate, it completely throws you off and makes you think, oh, is something else going to happen? And then when it doesn't, it makes you think, oh, huh.
Right.
And the way that here, I wish this was a video podcast because then I could make a diagram here. But you know how there's the climax and then the falling action,
Yes, for
right?
those that don't know what a story is.
Yeah. Basically, what I thought was going to happen was it was going to be like a little mini climax, and then bigger climax, and then the falling action. But no.
It's a good point. Maybe I when you okay,
Yeah.
so you told me before I got to see the film, you were like,
Mhm.
Pete, listen, good movie. It does this, and that. It doesn't have this, and that. But also, I'm having a really hard time with the ending, and I'm like, oh, okay, thanks for fucking it for me, man. But you did it.
Well,
You did it.
I
You
didn't
did it. You
reveal
did it.
anything.
Yeah, you did. So, I go to see the movie. I'm seeing it with you and whatever. And then at the end of the movie, I'm like, all that stuff that I just said happened. And I'm like, oh my God, maybe he meant this shit. But
Hmm.
again, with you, as I found out after the movie, I also thought there was going to be another 20, 30, 40 minutes to the film
Yeah.
of just craziness or whatever. And it doesn't happen. So
Hmm.
fuck you, Tarantino.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it works. Fucking
Yeah.
again, like we as assholes, and that's what I'm gonna call us.
Mm-hmm.
Expect, sorry, certain things from a
Mm-hmm.
film. He does not do that. Like you said, he subverts expectations
Yeah.
to the point where like we it sounds like we're complaining, but we're not
Mm-hmm.
by any stretch of the
Yeah.
imagination. We are loving what he did. It's just
Yeah.
bothering. It's bothersome because it's like, but we thought you were gonna do this. We thought you were gonna do the other thing. You know.
Yeah.
But fuck.
But I will say, like, coming out of the theater, I was like, I felt unsatisfied because it didn't subvert my expectations. It misled them. You know, it misled what I thought was gonna happen, and it didn't do it in a good way where I was like, oh, that's genius. It did it in a way where you thought he was gonna do it, but no. He just misled you into getting your hopes up.
Interesting.
He blue balled us essentially.
Wow. Okay. I don't see it that way. I don't think what he did was genius, but I don't think he disappointed me or blue balled me. I think it's somewhere up closer
Well,
to
I don't
closer to
think I
genius.
I
But
don't think that he blue balled me now. Just initially out of the theater when I came out of it, I
the
was
first
like I
time.
was
First time.
disappointed.
Okay.
But like thinking back on it, I thought it was a fantastic movie. You know?
You've gone to say that it's your third favorite Quentin Tarantino movie
Yeah.
currently.
Well, yes, yeah. It perfectly tickles my fancy. I mean, it's just okay.
Hey.
I will tell you
You know
this.
that used to be the tagline for our podcast.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why it used to be. It should still be, but
Well.
um, basically, I am a whore for movies that recreate or replicate old footage.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And
Yes. 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 Yes.
like things like or not even or like just replicate real events you see Bohemian Rhapsody
Absolutely, my
at
friend.
the end where he fucking does the Live Aid performance and it's like perfect.
Yeah. Well, because they
It's
spent fucking
yeah,
years almost. No,
it's
just
just
kidding.
like oh my
Yeah.
god. And
Yeah.
then like at the end with Rocket Man where he's in the I'm Still Standing music video,
Right.
you know, and then him in you know fucking
Well, the Dodger Stadium thing looked really nice too. That worked out.
yeah, but that too, but also in this movie where he's in The Great Escape,
Oh yeah.
and he's just like in old movies.
Well, it's a very
Like
Forrest Gump feel. That whole idea
yeah.
of
Yeah,
superimposing.
the different side of it. But I mean, I think it's just fantastic, you know. Um, and so that's I think partly that's the reason, but also I think the way that I love the characters. Um, I love I think the ending, even though it's not as bloody and it's not as fantastic, it's still like a great scene and a very satisfying scene. You know?
Yeah, dude, I would have to agree with you there. Like the scene, the ending. Like, okay, so if anyone else made this movie, right?
Hmm.
And I think I've said this to you as well. If anyone else made this movie, it wouldn't work. But because it's Tarantino, everything like works well.
Yeah.
There are moments that, especially in the last scene itself. Like, what do you consider the last scene? Like, do you see is the gate the last scene to you? Is that like I take
Yeah.
the whole murder plus that as the last scene. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
So for me, again, anyone else makes this movie, anyone else touches this, like for instance, Spielberg comes out of nowhere and is like does a scene like that, people will be
Yeah.
up in arms. But again, because it's Tarantino, it works, and I think that's where you're coming from, why you're saying it works. There were
Hmm.
moments, and this is what I think I said to you. There were moments in this movie where I was like, who made this movie?
Hmm.
Other than knowing that again, the whole exposition stuff, I didn't feel like it was a Tarantino film at moments. This is the least Tarantinian. What would you even call that?
Tarantino. The least Tarantino film.
Fine, no, but I was trying to make it like
The least Tarantinian.
Tarantinian. There we go. So I was right the second time.
Um,
I feel like it's the least of his flavors.
I'd argue against that. I'd say
It's
Jackie Brown is his.
still haven't seen that. That's the thing. Never
I
seen it.
know, but I know that's like that's the least violent one.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Okay.
but I mean, um, yeah, I'd say it's of his work, of his writing, and it's his own story. I'd say it's the least.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
No, but it's obviously still very much him. It's
yeah.
clearly no one else did it. Clearly no one else wrote it, directed, or
Mhm.
whatever. But yeah, when I'm so used to like his last two films are like fucking insane. Not even his last three films are
Yeah.
insane.
What
And then you
what are
get
his last
something.
three? It's
It's
uh,
Hateful Eight, going backwards. Hateful Eight, Django, and I think Bastards, right?
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
three fucking insane films. Um, yeah. So like when you're getting so used to that, and then all of a sudden this movie happens, you're kind of like, oh, that's a little different, dude, but still works. But like it's just a little different.
Yeah.
Um, so like yeah, that's all I wanted to say. I mean, I love you, Quentin. Like, I would love to work with you.
Mhm.
Just throwing that out there in the universe. You know how some people say if you say something out in the universe, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But so anything else that is in your head about this movie, like that we haven't touched upon?
Uh, yeah, a few things. Um. Well, here. Okay. So I've two things. One, Bruce Lee's character, the character of Bruce Lee in this movie.
I forgot about that.
Um, I saw this thing that from his daughter
She didn't like it.
saying how she did not like his portrayal. And I wanted to touch on that because uh, it's not. It's very obvious once you get into the scene that it's not a real depiction of who Bruce Lee was.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's not a real depiction of uh like it's obviously like a caricature and a comedic relief character. Um and it's a completely comedic scene.
I think the scene is there clearly to give us the idea of who Cliff is, and not so
Mhm.
much to make fun of or
Yeah.
put down Bruce. I think it was
Yeah.
there to do that. And what better way than to have an actual real actor in those
Mhm.
shoes?
Skilled in combat. And it's also to show
Exactly.
his combat ability
Exactly.
because it doesn't come out of the blue when he's super good at fighting
Right.
in the last few minutes of the film.
Yeah.
And I think that obviously you can't just tell his daughter, "Oh, calm down," because it's her father, and he's passed. But it's obvious that Tarantino means no harm, and
No, but he's like a
he
fucking huge fan of his too.
yeah, exactly. Like Kill Bill, it has a
Right.
lot of
Yeah.
influence from what's his last movie? It's I forget what Bruce Lee's last film was, but I mean, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Go on.
Um. Uh. No. Yeah. So I think that um she's obviously understanding the point of the character the wrong way, but I do understand how you know.
Game of Death.
Yeah.
That's his last movie. Yeah, but no, I mean you can't blame her. It's her father. She wants to keep
Mhm.
that legacy alive, not
Mhm.
tainted, all that stuff. But maybe if she steps back a bit and sees it for what it really is, then she'll completely understand. I mean, maybe she has. Maybe at this point she has understood that.
Mhm.
Maybe not. I don't know. But the thing is, that scene is set up to give us an idea of Cliff. Now, it was surprising to me that they would do that to Bruce, though. But again,
Yeah.
given for what it is, I get it. But I just thought Bruce would kick his ass. I thought that was the scene we were gonna get. Like,
Well.
but that's not what. Again, it goes to the whole idea that
Yeah.
it's not what you're expecting.
Mhm.
It's what you.
I
It's.
I do really love the way that scene is cut. Because how instantly um uh you know Bruce Lee, he just kicks uh Cliff Booth right in the chest and he falls down, and he to me, the first like round or whatever is him getting a sense of Bruce Lee, and then the second time it's they start round two, and the second that they make contact, it cuts to however much longer it was in the fight, and then you just see Bruce Lee get slammed in the side of a car, and that kind of shows, oh shit, you know, like Cliff can Cliff can fight, and that
Right.
like that it would be one thing if it just shows his ability to fight and like be able to stand against Bruce Lee, but it more so drives the point home if he's able to actually uh, hurt Bruce Lee, you know?
Yeah, correct. And also the inner struggle that maybe Cliff is having.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that I'm on set with a guy who hired me that clearly his wife doesn't like me.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I shouldn't be fighting, but this
Yeah.
motherfucker, like, all these things are occurring through his head, but he still does it anyway. Um, it's good shit, man. Good shit. So I don't know. I feel like we've talked about this movie to death. Um,
Mm-hmm.
is there anything else? Like, is for me, I cannot think of anything. My brain is dead. My brain right now is not working properly.
No, nothing too significant. I think it essentially it just shows Quentin Tarantino's love for old filmmaking, and it shows his growth as a director, and within the film, um, it demonstrates his journey through Hollywood.
So, one quick thing actually I thought about real quick. If you live in Los Angeles, this is the movie for you, man. This is the movie that more or
Mm-hmm.
less says, I love and live in Los Angeles. This is what was like, this is what life is like.
Mm-hmm.
It is also, man, like I was a little jealous when he was showing the Cinerama Dome, when he was showing um,
Yeah, yeah.
all these places that are still around today, more or less, um, on screen, and what they used to look like. Some of them, I
Mm-hmm.
guess, still look like that now.
Yeah.
And I was a bit jealous. I was like, "Fuck!" And I guess that's how like people feel when they show old New York, and they're
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh man, that looks so cool. I wish I knew what that was like or what it is like."
Well, especially for me, the Twin Towers, like I have no idea what that's like, you know?
True. Yeah, Spider-Man 1, dude. I remember that being a big thing in the trailer.
No, well, they
Um,
removed that trailer and they pulled that
right.
trailer from different things because of what happened.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I remember that, and then they're like, "No, we can't do that."
Hmm.
But yeah, stuff like that. Like, so it's a big LA love fest movie.
Hmm.
Um, it's like a love letter to Sharon Tate. It's a love letter to old Hollywood and what it used to be, and the hope for a hope that it could be uh, uh, still amazing, and it still is great, but it's a little different. It's a little different than what it used to be. Everybody
Hmm.
owns everybody now. Like fucking Disney owns the world, man. Isn't that
Yeah.
fascinating? I know this is not related to this movie, but Disney made more money in 6 months this year than it made all of last year.
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah, I know.
But it's a huge part to do with Endgame and whatnot. But anyway, I think it's time to rate this movie.
Hmm.
So I know you wanted to try to have me rate the film beforehand, and I was like, I like to save it until the movie
Hmm.
review, movie discussion, and so I'm still gonna let you go first though. What did you think of the rating, man? Out of 10, where does that stand for you, dude?
Well, giving it some thought, thinking of what we talked about on this podcast.
Which is not a lot. It's not like we've talked about
Hmm.
anything.
And actually, you brought up some very good points which I didn't think about. I'm going to have to give this movie an 8.5 out of 10, which changed from an 8 out of 10.
Okay, so
So,
interesting. Full disclosure, though, how often do you rate movies? Like, what is like? Is
I
there
rate
like a
every single movie I see.
But is there like a criteria for you that it has to fit a certain bubble that or whatever? Like, because an eight
It
8.5 for you is like a whatever for me. Like you know what I'm saying?
it essentially has to tell its story effectively, um, in the sense that the filmmaking is good, and in the sense that the story grips me and I like the characters, um, and it has me thinking about it for a while afterward.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
So I'm going to say this before I give my number. This is a movie for me that, as a filmmaker, I loved seeing the process. I love seeing the fact that this is how movies are made, and letting everybody else know. Uh, they get a little hand in the kitchen right there. That was really cool to get to see that.
Hmm.
The idea that this is what Hollywood could still be, and all that stuff about that. Um, Getting to see someone portray Sharon Tate on screen that wasn't Sharon Tate. I don't know if it's ever happened before, but if it has, this is really cool to see it. At least for me, the first time that I could think of. Um, this movie being super meta, being like there's so many messages here. I'm sure, dude. I bet he had so many messages in this movie that
Hmm.
we could just dive into it. And that's the point I'm making. Like he's good at that.
Yeah.
And what else? It does a lot to fucking love the performances in this movie.
Hmm.
I don't think there's a single again, a couple days removed. Sorry, and I've only seen the movie once, so I don't remember everything.
Hmm.
But everyone seemed to be fantastic. There wasn't a
Yeah.
single person that was like, "Oh God, you don't belong in this movie."
Hmm.
Pacino wasn't Pacino for the first time in like a bajillion years. He played
Exactly.
somebody else. Like I believed whoever he was like a Jewish guy or something.
Me too. Me too. Yeah.
Um, so that
Marvin
was
Schwartz.
yeah, and that was a great character. See, that's the other thing. That was a great character insight because then Leonardo says his name wrong, and he corrects him, and then he keeps making sure that you get his name right the whole
Yeah.
time we see him, even though it's like for 15 minutes.
Hmm.
Anyway, um, with all that being said, I don't know if I had any big issues with this movie, and
Hmm.
I can't even think of any right now. I'm gonna have to give this movie. I'm becoming a hard grader now, and people are gonna be like, "Well, you're a dick," because if you go like 2 years ago, you gave such and such movie a 9.
Hmm.
I'm gonna go 7.5 out of 10 for me, only because listen, and that's amazing. It's 75% of 100. All right, people, don't get me wrong. Just because I went under 8, people get mad. They're like, "You didn't give it a 9. You must have not liked it." It's like, are you fucking stupid?
Hmm.
Like what? But anyway, for me, 7.5 out of 10, because that's just where it is, man. It's not a stellar movie for me. It works for what it needs to be. Like it's definitely, like I said, a love letter to Hollywood and everything. But I've only seen it once, and I'm also comparing it to all his other movies. And so
Hmm.
if I'm gonna give Inglorious Bastards the number that I give it, which is probably like a 9.5 for me, I can't give this movie that same rating because if I don't think it's as good as Inglorious Bastards, you get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
like, so there's that. Um, but that's awesome. Like you and I are more or less on the same boat of where we give this movie a rating. Also, um, I fucking for me like nothing's gonna top Hateful Eight, nothing's gonna top Glorious Bastards, and Pulp Fiction. So like, he can keep making movies for a million years, nothing's gonna top those for me.
Hmm.
So there's that.
Yeah.
But that's been our podcast here. And if you guys want to hear more from Miles, let us know. We'll have him on again in the future. I think this is his first ever podcast he's been on. Yes or no?
That is true.
That is fucking true. And you could tell, guys. You could tell. I got a lot of editing to do
What the fuck?
because he says a lot. But you're probably not going to hear that because I'm going to edit it out. And whatever I'm saying right now is probably not going to make any sense. But anyway, yeah, Miles, you've been great. Great to have you on. Hope to have you on again soon, and hopefully with the rest of the crew here at Facts Not Included. If you guys want to check out Miles, I don't know his Instagram, but he might want to say it right now.
It's at Svenunovo at SVENUNOVO at Svenunovo.
Whatever that means. So that's his Instagram, and our Instagram, of course, is at Facts Not Included. If you don't know how to spell at Facts Not Included, I'm not even gonna give you the chance to like have me say it out loud because it's like really simple. And if you guys want to check out the rest of the cool things from us here at Facts Not Included, just check out our website, factsnotincluded.com, and don't forget to join the community on the forum section. Really cool stuff that we got there. Make your own stories or join in a discussion that is already taking place. And, of course, if you want the cool merch, head over to our website or go to TeePublic and just type in Facts Not Included, and you get some really cool shit up there. All right, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Guys and gals, I don't mean to say guys and just be like, talking about one group of people. Peace out. Hope you enjoyed it, and bye-bye.